Story 1. The Hand of MOKUSEN HIOKI. In the small village of Nazareth, there was a wise teacher named Rabbi Elihu, known for his deep understanding of the scriptures and his ability to guide others with humility and grace. One day, a man named Amos came to Rabbi Elihu, troubled by his wife's actions. Amos explained that his wife, Rachel, was constantly harsh and miserly, causing strife in their home. He asked for the rabbi's guidance, hoping for a solution to the growing tension between them. Rabbi Elihu, understanding that true change comes from within, agreed to visit Rachel. He knew that sometimes the key to transformation was not in giving answers, but in opening the heart to new understanding. When he arrived at their home, he did not speak a word at first. Instead, he stood silently before Rachel and extended his hand, clenching it into a tight fist, and held it in front of her. Rachel, taken aback by this gesture, looked at him with confusion and asked, "Rabbi, what do you mean by this? Why do you show me a fist?" Rabbi Elihu remained silent for a moment, then spoke gently. "If I hold my hand like this, as a fist, without striking you, what would you call it?" Rachel, puzzled by the question, replied, "It seems strange, Rabbi." Rabbi Elihu then slowly opened his hand, spreading his fingers wide, and held it out before her again. "And now, if I keep my hand like this, with my fingers spread wide, without changing it, what would you call it?" Rachel paused for a moment, observing the rabbi's calm demeanor. She responded cautiously, "It still seems strange." Rabbi Elihu smiled softly, his eyes filled with understanding, and said, "You see, Rachel, the hand is neither useful nor meaningful unless it is in its proper place. The fist, when clenched, is rigid, full of potential harm, but no purpose. The open hand, though, when used to give, to embrace, or to help, becomes a tool of grace and kindness. Both are the same hand, but the choice of how it is used determines its value." Rachel looked at the rabbi, her heart stirred by his words. She had always been so focused on holding tightly to what she had, fearing that if she gave, she would be left with nothing. But now, as she listened to the rabbi, she began to realize that true generosity and love were not about holding tightly to material things, but about offering kindness and compassion freely. Rabbi Elihu continued, "Just as the hand can be a symbol of both harm and grace, so can your heart. You have the power to open your heart, to embrace your family with love and understanding, or you can continue to hold on to bitterness and fear, keeping yourself closed off from them. You must choose how you will live, just as I choose how I will hold my hand. As Jesus taught us in Matthew 7:7-8, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened." The choice is yours, Rachel. Will you open your heart to your family, or will you remain closed off? Rachel stood in silence, reflecting on the rabbi's words. She had never thought of her actions in such a way before. She had been focused on her own fears and insecurities, but now she understood that by opening her heart, she could bring peace and love into her home. Rabbi Elihu then turned to leave, but before he did, he added one final piece of advice. "Remember, Rachel, the hand that gives is the hand that truly lives. The heart that is open to others is the heart that is filled with God's love. As 1 John 4:19 teaches us, we love because he first loved us." From that day on, Rachel began to change. She embraced her family with love and compassion, no longer clinging to material wealth or her own insecurities. She became a loving wife and mother, generous in both spirit and action. Her home, once filled with tension and bitterness, was transformed into a place of peace and warmth. Rabbi Elihu's lesson was simple but powerful. True transformation begins in the heart. It is through opening our hearts to God's love that we are able to extend that love to others. Just as the hand, when open, becomes a tool of grace and kindness, so too does the heart, when open, become a vessel for God's love. In this, Rachel learned that the key to a fulfilling and meaningful life was not in holding on tightly to things, but in offering what she had to others in love. As Jesus taught in Luke 6:38, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Rachel found that by giving love and kindness, she received even more in return, creating a home filled with joy, peace, and the love of God. Story 2. Let Go. In the ancient land of Israel, there lived a wise teacher named Rabbi Isaac, known for his deep understanding of the scriptures and his ability to guide others in matters of faith and life. One day, a young man named Benjamin came to Rabbi Isaac with a heavy heart. Benjamin had been struggling with his attachment to material wealth and desires, feeling as though he could never be satisfied no matter how much he accumulated. He had heard the rabbi's teachings about the importance of humility and letting go, but he could not understand how to apply these lessons to his own life. Rabbi Isaac, understanding the young man's struggles, invited him to sit by a stream near the edge of the village. The rabbi began with a story that would help Benjamin understand the concept of letting go and the dangers of holding on too tightly. Rabbi Isaac began, "Benjamin, I want to tell you a story from a distant land, a story that I hope will help you understand the wisdom of letting go." The rabbi spoke of a man from the land of Africa who had a unique method for capturing a particular type of monkey, the baboon. This man would carefully attract the attention of the monkey from a distance, placing its favorite food inside a cage with very narrow openings between the bars. He would then walk away, leaving the monkey to discover the food. When the monkey saw the food, it rushed over with excitement and immediately reached its hand into the cage to grab it. But the openings were so narrow that the monkey could not pull its hand out while holding the food tightly. Despite its struggle, the monkey refused to release the food. The man, watching from a distance, knew that the monkey's attachment to the food was its downfall. The more the monkey held on to the food, the tighter its grip and the more difficult it became to escape. The man would approach slowly and without alarming the monkey would easily capture it. Rabbi Isaac paused and looked at Benjamin, who was listening intently. He continued, "The monkey, you see, could easily escape by simply letting go of the food, but it was so caught up in the desire to hold on to the prize before it that it ignored the consequences. The monkey's instinct was to grasp and hold tight, not realizing that it was the very act of holding on that trapped it." Benjamin sat in silence, reflecting on the story. Rabbi Isaac's words began to sink in, but the rabbi was not finished yet. He looked at Benjamin with compassion and said, "This is how many of us live our lives. We become so attached to material things, to our desires, that we cannot see the consequences of holding on too tightly. We may not be aware of it, but just like the monkey, we are caught in a trap of our own making. We cling to what we have, not realizing that true freedom comes from letting go." Benjamin nodded, beginning to understand. Rabbi Isaac continued, "Jesus taught us the importance of letting go of attachments and placing our trust in God. In Matthew 6:19-21, he said, 'Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.'" Rabbi Isaac smiled gently, his voice filled with kindness. "The things of this world, Benjamin, are temporary. If we hold on to them too tightly, we become like the monkey, caught in a trap. But if we release our grip and trust in God's provision, we find true freedom. As Jesus said in Matthew 11:28-30, 'Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Benjamin listened carefully, feeling the weight of Rabbi Isaac's words. He had always thought that accumulating wealth and possessions would bring him peace, but now he realized that it was the act of letting go that would bring him true freedom and fulfillment. Rabbi Isaac concluded, "In life, Benjamin, the key to peace and contentment is not in clinging to what we desire, but in trusting that God will provide for us. We must be willing to let go of the things that hold us back and trust that God's plan for us is far greater than anything we can hold on to. Remember, as Psalm 23 verse 1 says, 'The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing.' When we trust in God's provision, we find that we lack nothing, and we are free from the traps of greed and desire." Benjamin's heart was filled with peace as he understood the depth of Rabbi Isaac's wisdom. He realized that he had been holding on to the things of this world, thinking they would bring him happiness, but in truth, it was his attachment to them that kept him from experiencing the true joy and freedom found in God's love. As Benjamin stood to leave, he felt a sense of lightness in his spirit. He no longer needed to hold tightly to material things. He could let go, trust in God, and embrace the freedom that came with surrendering to his will. Rabbi Isaac watched him go, a smile of contentment on his face, knowing that Benjamin had begun the journey of letting go and trusting in God. And as Benjamin walked back to his home, he whispered a prayer of thanks, remembering the words of Jesus in Luke 12:15. Watch out! Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Through the story of the monkey, Rabbi Isaac had shown Benjamin the true path to freedom, not in clinging to worldly things, but in trusting God and letting go of what held him captive. Story 3. Complete and Incomplete. In a humble village in the heart of Judea, there was a revered teacher named Rabbi Eleazar. Rabbi Eleazar was known for his deep wisdom, having taught the scriptures and the ways of the Lord for many years. His disciples were numerous, eager to learn from him, and one of his students, a young man named Nathan, had been under his guidance for several years. Nathan was diligent, passionate about learning, and had absorbed much of his teacher's wisdom. One day, after years of study, Nathan felt that he had learned all there was to know, and that he was ready to step into the world and put his knowledge into practice. One evening, as they sat by the fire after their lessons, Nathan spoke with great confidence to Rabbi Eleazar. Teacher, I believe I have learned all that you have to teach me. I now understand the scriptures and the ways of God, and I am ready to begin my own ministry. There is no more I need to learn. Rabbi Eleazar, who had observed the growth of his student over the years, looked at Nathan with a knowing smile and said, You believe you have learned everything, Nathan, but tell me, how do you define learning? What does it mean to be truly full? Nathan, eager to prove his readiness, responded eagerly, I have learned all that I can, and no more knowledge can fit into my heart. There is nothing more to be learned. Rabbi Eleazar nodded thoughtfully, then stood up and beckoned Nathan to follow him. He led the young man to a nearby well, where he picked up an empty cup and handed it to Nathan. With a calm voice, the rabbi instructed, Take this cup and fill it with stones. Nathan, without hesitation, filled the cup to the brim with the largest stones he could find, making sure the cup was completely filled. He returned to Rabbi Eleazar and said proudly, The cup is full. Rabbi Eleazar looked at the cup and, with a gentle smile, took a small bag of sand from his cloak. He poured the sand into the cup, and to Nathan's amazement, the sand filled the spaces between the stones. Not a single grain of sand fell out of the cup. Rabbi Eleazar asked, Is it full now? Nathan, slightly surprised but still confident, nodded. Yes, now it is truly full. But Rabbi Eleazar, not yet finished with his lesson, poured water from a small pitcher into the cup. To Nathan's astonishment, the water filled the gaps between the sand and the stones without overflowing. The cup was still not full, yet there was no spillage. Rabbi Eleazar, looking into Nathan's eyes, asked one final time, Is it full now? Nathan, humbled by what he had just witnessed, bowed his head. He realized that, despite his initial confidence, there was still room to learn and grow, just as the cup could still hold more even after it seemed full. Rabbi Eleazar placed his hand gently on Nathan's shoulder and said, You see, Nathan, just like this cup, your heart and mind are never truly full if you think there is nothing more to learn. No matter how much knowledge you have, there is always room for more. The stones are like the basic knowledge you have acquired. The sand represents the wisdom and experience that fill the spaces between what you know. And the water, Nathan, is the divine understanding, the grace of God, which fills every corner of your soul when you are humble enough to receive it. Nathan stood silently, absorbing his teacher's words. The rabbi continued, You have learned much, but as the scriptures say in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. True wisdom does not come from pride or from the belief that you know everything. It comes from humility, from the willingness to learn more, and from trusting in God's infinite wisdom. There is always more to learn, For the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. Nathan's heart was filled with a new understanding. He realized that his pride in his knowledge had caused him to close himself off from further growth. Just as the cup had more room for sand and water, his heart too had space for deeper wisdom and the guidance of God. Rabbi Eliezer had shown him that the pursuit of wisdom was a lifelong journey, one that required both humility and a constant desire to learn. The rabbi smiled and added, "Do not be content with what you know. Keep your heart open to God's teaching. As it is written in James 1:5, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." Nathan bowed deeply to Rabbi Eliezer, now truly understanding the depth of his teacher's wisdom. He realized that true learning was not about reaching a point where he could say, "I know it all," but about continually seeking God's wisdom, remaining humble, and recognizing that there is always more to understand. As Nathan walked away from Rabbi Eliezer that day, he felt a new sense of purpose. He understood that the pursuit of knowledge was not a race to the finish line, but a lifelong journey, one that required him to remain open to learning, to humility, and to the guidance of God. He prayed silently, remembering the words of Jesus in Matthew 11:29-30. "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Through Rabbi Eliezer's lesson, Nathan had learned that the heart, like the cup, can never be full if it refuses to learn, if it refuses to be humble. True wisdom comes from God alone, and it is through a continual, humble seeking of His will that we are filled with understanding and grace. The journey of learning, of growing in faith and wisdom, is never truly complete. It is a path we must walk every day, trusting in God's provision and wisdom. As Psalm 25:4-5 reminds us, "Show me your ways, Lord, teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long." Story 4. Value of Stone. In a small village near the hills of Judea, there was a wise and humble rabbi named Rabbi Joshua, known throughout the region for his deep understanding of the scriptures and his ability to guide others in the ways of faith. Rabbi Joshua had many disciples, but one young man named Isaac frequently sought his counsel on matters of life, purpose, and the value of human existence. One day, Isaac approached Rabbi Joshua, feeling restless and confused. He asked, "Teacher, I have been struggling with a question for many days. What is the true value of a person? How can we understand our worth in this world?" Rabbi Joshua, seeing that Isaac's question stemmed from a desire for deeper meaning, decided to teach him an important lesson. The rabbi, with his characteristic calmness, invited Isaac to accompany him on a walk to the village marketplace. As they approached the market, Rabbi Joshua spoke, "Isaac, I will give you a task to help you understand the answer to your question. Take this stone with you into the marketplace, but do not sell it. Simply ask people what they would pay for it. Return to me after you have done so." Isaac, intrigued by his teacher's request, took the stone and went to the market. As he entered, he showed the stone to the first merchant he encountered. The merchant, upon seeing the size and beauty of the stone, offered him 2 silver coins, thinking it would make a fine decoration. Isaac thanked him and moved on, continuing his search. At the next stall, another merchant, a craftsman, offered 10 silver coins, seeing potential to carve the stone into something more intricate. Isaac nodded and moved forward. Throughout the day, Isaac showed the stone to various merchants. One man offered it as a gift for his child, and another hoped to use it for his household. Yet, the highest offer Isaac received was only 10 silver coins. Confused but obedient, Isaac returned to Rabbi Joshua, reporting, "Rabbi, I did as you asked. People in the marketplace saw the stone's beauty, but no one offered more than 10 silver coins for it." Rabbi Joshua listened intently before giving Ike his next instructions. "Tomorrow, take the stone to the goldsmiths, the sellers of precious metals, and ask them for their price. But remember, do not sell it. Simply ask what they would pay." The next morning, Isaac took the stone to the goldsmiths, and when he returned, his excitement was palpable. He rushed to Rabbi Joshua and said, "Rabbi, I cannot believe it. The goldsmiths offered incredible amounts. One offered a silver coin equivalent to a pound of gold. Another offered 1,000 silver coins, and some offered even more than that. They valued it as if it were precious gold. Rabbi Joshua nodded with understanding, but asked Isaac to follow one final step. Tomorrow, take the stone to the jewelers, the sellers of diamonds and precious jewels. Again, do not sell it, but only ask them what they would pay for it. The following day, Isaac, now full of curiosity, took the stone to the jewelers. He asked each of them, and their offers grew even more astounding. One jeweler offered 100,000 silver coins, while another offered 200,000 coins for the stone. The value placed upon it was unimaginable. Yet, Isaac refused to sell the stone, as his teacher had instructed. With disbelief, the jewelers raised their offers higher and higher, but Isaac remained steadfast, repeating, "I cannot sell it. This is a stone that belongs to my teacher, Rabbi Joshua. I am only asking for its value." Isaac returned to Rabbi Joshua, and with a humble heart, he placed the stone before his teacher. Rabbi Joshua, with a wise smile, spoke, "Isaac, you now see. The value of this stone is not determined by what the people at the marketplace or even the goldsmiths and jewelers offered. You learned that when they saw the stone, they saw only its outward appearance. They did not see what it truly was. The real value of the stone was only recognized by those who had the eyes to see it for what it truly was, a treasure to be honored. Now let me show you the lesson. The value of a person is much the same." Isaac was quiet, waiting for his teacher to continue. Rabbi Joshua continued, "As it is written in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. The value of a person is not determined by outward appearance, wealth, or what others might offer. It is determined by the heart, by the love, humility, and faith that resides within." Rabbi Joshua looked deeply into Isaac's eyes and spoke gently. "Isaac, just as the jewelers and goldsmiths saw different values in the stone based on their own limited understanding, so too do people in this world often judge others based on superficial traits. But true worth comes from within. It is measured by the character we build, the love we show, and the faith we place in God. Your worth is not dependent on the fleeting opinions of others or on the things of this world, but on your relationship with God and your willingness to live according to His will." Isaac's heart was filled with understanding. He had been focused on what others thought of him and his worth. He now realized that true value came from within, from following God's path and living with a humble heart. He understood that God sees the heart, not the outward appearance, and that each person's worth is defined by their faith, love, and integrity. Rabbi Joshua finished with a final thought. "Remember, Isaac, your worth is not for sale. It is not determined by the world's standards or by how much you can accumulate. As Matthew 6:19-21 teaches us, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Isaac left Rabbi Joshua's presence that day with a deep sense of peace and clarity. He understood that his true value was not determined by the world's judgments, but by his faith, his actions, and his heart's alignment with God's will. From that moment on, Isaac sought to live a life that reflected the inner treasure of humility, faith, and love, a life that would be valuable in the eyes of God, regardless of the judgments of others. Story 5. Ugly and Beautiful. In the town of Capernaum, nestled by the shores of the Sea of Galilee, there lived a wise rabbi named Rabbi Baruch, known for his deep understanding of the scriptures and his ability to teach profound truths. Rabbi Baruch had a group of disciples who followed him, eager to learn the ways of God and life. One day, as they journeyed through the hills, Rabbi Baruch and his disciples stopped at an inn to rest for the night. The innkeeper was a man of modest means, but he had 2 wives. One wife was known throughout the town for her beauty, while the other was plain in appearance, but her kindness and gentleness were apparent to all who met her. As the disciples gathered around the fire that evening, they began to discuss the innkeeper's choice of wives. Some believed that the innkeeper must favor his beautiful wife, while others argued that he could not truly love either of them. Curious and eager to understand, the disciples approached Rabbi Baruch with their question. Rabbi, surely the innkeeper loves the beautiful wife more. She is admired by all for her looks. But why then does he seem to treat the plain wife with such respect and kindness? Rabbi Baruch, sensing the opportunity for a valuable lesson, smiled and replied, You wish to understand the innkeeper's heart? Let me tell you the truth. The innkeeper loves his plain wife, and he does not favor the beautiful one, for she is proud and vain. She believes that her outward appearance defines her worth, while the plain wife, though not adorned with physical beauty, possesses a beauty of the heart. The disciples were puzzled and sought further explanation. They asked, But Rabbi, how can this be? Surely beauty should be valued, and the one who is beautiful should be loved more. Rabbi Baruch gestured for the disciples to sit by the fire and spoke with great wisdom. It is written in Proverbs 31:30, Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. The beautiful wife, though she is physically attractive, places her value solely in her appearance. She spends all her time adorning herself, seeking admiration from others, but pride and vanity cannot be called true beauty. For her, the pursuit of external beauty has made her heart hard and her spirit unkind. The disciples listened intently as Rabbi Baruch continued. On the other hand, the wife who is plain in appearance but humble in spirit carries a beauty that the world cannot see. She does not rely on her outward appearance to define her worth. She serves her husband with a humble heart and lives in a way that reflects the inner beauty of a godly character. This is why the innkeeper loves her more, for her beauty is not of this world. It is a beauty that comes from within. And as 1 Peter 3 verse 3-4 tells us, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Rabbi Baruch paused, allowing the disciples to reflect on his words. He then turned to them and asked, Which is more beautiful, my children? The one who adorns herself with jewels and makeup, or the one who adorns herself with humility and love? The world may value outward beauty, but God values the beauty of the heart, the kindness and the gentleness that come from living in his ways. The disciples, now understanding the deeper meaning behind the innkeeper's actions, nodded in agreement. Rabbi Baruch continued, The woman who is beautiful on the outside, but proud in her heart, is like a flower that fades quickly. But the woman who is beautiful in her spirit, who fears the Lord and lives with humility, is like a tree planted by streams of water, which bears fruit in season and whose leaves do not wither. Psalm 1:3. This beauty, the beauty of a humble heart, is the true beauty that lasts forever. Rabbi Baruch's words resonated deeply with the disciples. They realized that the innkeeper's love for his plain wife was not based on physical appearance, but on the beauty of her character. The outward beauty of the other wife had overshadowed her inner beauty, and that had caused her to be proud and distant, while the plain wife's humility and kindness had made her truly beautiful in the eyes of the innkeeper, and more importantly, in the eyes of God. As the evening drew to a close, Rabbi Baruch shared one final thought. Remember, my disciples, as Jesus taught in Matthew 5:3, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Humility is the foundation of true beauty. When we humble ourselves before God, he lifts us up. As you go forth, seek not to be admired for your outward appearance, but for the beauty of your heart. For it is in the eyes of God that true beauty is found. The disciples left that night with a new understanding. They had learned that true beauty is not found in the surface or the things of this world, but in the heart and the character that reflect God's love and grace. They understood that in God's eyes, the humble and gentle spirit was of great worth, and they committed to cultivating that beauty in their own lives. In the days that followed, they spread this lesson wherever they went, teaching others that the beauty that truly matters is the beauty of the soul, nurtured through humility, kindness, and a deep relationship with God. As it is written in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. True beauty, they learned, comes from within, and it is a beauty that never fades.